Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Tech Showcase. As part of the trend forecasting track today, I'll be focusing on how our unique analysis deciphers the relationship between values and emotions and sentiment and concepts, all hidden in text data, and how it's a key to revealing where you've been, where you're at, and where you need to go. So understanding the direction of business is the responsibility of everyone involved, but it's hard and it's often out of reach. There are resources, but problems exist there. Just to start, and depending on who you ask, 60 to 80% of data collected goes unused. So that means that companies are spending time and effort to preserve this really important information, but lack the resources or tools to make use of it. And at the same time, research, billions of dollars are being spent on costly, time-consuming, albeit very important qualitative and quantitative data. And that's despite the fact that time-efficient and cost-efficient text analytics exists to uncover rich and meaningful insights. And that's a lot of waste. But we're changing that. We've developed technology that coaxes a lot more meaning out of the data with the ability to identify values and emotions and concepts in all kinds of text. And we're raising the bar on sentiment. We're turning it from a binary classification to one that ties the system of values and emotions and concepts together. This then allows us to capture drivers of change and identify emerging behaviors, along with adding time to provide a much more dynamic view of all of the data. And these kind of analysis complements all kinds of formal research and studies, and sometimes even replaces them altogether. This is what we refer to as truth serum for big data. So I'm Mary Meehan, CEO of Metametrix, and the sole focus of my career has been to understand who we are and why we do what we do. And the core philosophy of my first startup, Iconoculture, was to gather, observe, and track all kinds of information from the culture and analyze this information for the behavior and the values driving the choices that we make. So in founding Metametrix, I wanted to be able to translate that approach, that highly subjective analysis, into a productized solution to provide easy access to this really important insight. So before we get into the use case that I want to show you today of how our analysis works, I want to take you into our platform to show you just how our technology works. So after you log into our platform, it will take you to this search page where you can use this search bar to search on any topic you're interested in to gather information and data from the public web, so out in the culture. Or you can upload your own data here to analyze it, or you can have us analyze it for you. And to show you how this works, I'm going to pull up a search and analysis that I've already done around electric vehicles to show you how we collect all this information from the public web and present it here in the page we'll refer to as the data sphere. So you can see all of your data, and you can click into any of these items that are projected here to take a look further as to what's being conveyed, what's being written about, what's being talked about. And the colors are a quick analysis of the categories of information. So you can see the balance of information as well. The first analysis that we do is around concepts or key themes or the main ideas represented in all of the text. And we show the top 10 here, presented as a percent of the total. And we also, just sort of skipping ahead here, want to be able to show you values. This is the holy grail of consumer insights, getting that to the values that drive the choices that we make. And we represent the top 10 here as well. And emotions. This is a rules-based solution that identifies 24 different emotions. So I'll get back to our PowerPoint now. So to demonstrate how this service works and the features that we use to be able to show direction, we decided to focus on electric vehicles. It's a really exciting category to watch, and we wanted to find out what was motivating all of the changes right now, where it's headed, and what forces are keeping it moving forward. So first, the right place to start is the data. So just like that search you saw me do in our platform, we conducted many different searches to gather 5,000 articles or documents, information from the public web, from news sources, from the blogosphere, all focused on electric cars and electric vehicles. And then we processed that information through our analytic engine. And we come to this first analysis again, the what. This is those key themes or the concepts or ideas that are generated by the engine. And most text analytics starts with keywords, right? But we take a deeper, more complex approach to understanding the nature and context of words and phrases that represent these dominant themes or ideas in the text. And so our analysis shows here these top 8 themes from all of that data that we pulled. And I love this stage because it really jumpstarts your thinking into where you should put your attention, where you should focus, and what's driving the category as a whole. And I think the action here is to think about this as just the first step. But you can already see where to start putting your attention. And that takes us to the why, right? This is the really important element to all research, why we do what we do. And identifying values and emotions in text is the Metametrix superpower. And what you can see here is that we've identified the top 7 values. These are, of course, values are the fundamental beliefs that drive our actions, drive our choices. And we've identified 7 here, as well as emotions, which in contrast to values, emotions are a psychological reaction to something we encounter or some sort of stimuli. And we've identified, for some analysis here, we'll show you the top 5. So for values, ingenuity is really at the heart of innovation. It's really exciting because it's so new. And for empowerment, EVs empower the pursuit of our passions and our convictions. For many people, it's true for EVs. And for emotions, trust is the top emotion here, and certainly is a vital understanding when consumers are investing in something that is new, kind of untried, really, and particularly for a powerful, expensive machine that they are about to invest in. So really, values and emotions are so central to understanding what's important about a category, and they're central to any other kind of product development, messaging that you would engage in. And even if you stopped right here, you would have more insight than you would have had you just used a word cloud or keywords. And combining values and emotions in your analysis allows you to tell a much more nuanced story about your findings. So going out into the real world with that top value there, just looking at ingenuity, we're already seeing it in car makers like Ford, and perhaps some of you have seen this commercial or you're lining up to buy one of these cars. But Ford is just, this is just a brilliant solution from them with what are now being referred to as bidirectional batteries. So the battery in the truck can actually be converted to powering your home in the case of an outage. And so for this already really wildly popular vehicle, it's sure to attract additional adoption. And in fact, Ford already has a long waiting list to get their hands on this truck. So that brings us to the direction, right? So we've set the stage, collecting the data. We've identified key themes or ideas within all of the text. We've been able to decipher for values, those fundamental beliefs that we have. We've been able to identify emotions, these psychological response that we have. And so now, to be able to determine the direction, we're adding sentiment and time. So instead of a binary approach to sentiment, we are going to analyze the values and emotions by sentiment, which allows us then to evaluate the connection and the relationship between all of these and among all of these elements that we've analyzed, for which forces actually drive choices. In addition, we're going to be reviewing 5 years of data, which will help show us how these findings change over time and the direction in which they're headed. So first, we're going to look at sentiment and time measured on values. So I want to direct your attention to this horizontal axis here, right? We have those 7 top values from our analysis along the horizontal axis here. Each value is also measured by year, and this horizontal red line is a ratio value of 1. So moving ahead of this line indicates a positive emotion or positivity. And so just taking a look at what we found then in the analysis is starting with ingenuity and empowerment here on the left-hand side of the screen. You can see that they consistently show high positivity rates, suggesting an appreciation for the rapidly evolving technology and the sense of empowerment that EVs deliver. The value here in the middle doesn't, only really once makes it across that red line into positive territory, suggesting that perhaps EVs don't appear affordable to many people and could be why they're holding back. Access is kind of a volatile track here over the 5 years, but is important to note because people are going to be looking for information and access to cars, trucks, charging stations, batteries, etc. Assistance never even makes it into that territory as people are looking for understanding, information, access to vehicles and charging stations, etc. And then novelty and thrill. Interesting note here is they both start off higher and then trend less so in the remaining 2 to 3 years, and could indicate kind of the initial euphoria associated with EVs that could start to decline as they become more commonplace. And taking another value out into the real world is really fun to see these brands here like Jeep, also BMW, Rivian, are funding charging stations at national parks around the United States, empowering people to get out and enjoy everything that these parks have to offer without worrying about whether or not they're going to be able to find a charge to get them where they want to go. And so we just looked at sentiment and time on values. Now we'll look at sentiment and time on emotions. So again, across this horizontal axis, these are those top 5 emotions that we identified in that earlier chart that we looked at. And each one is measured by year. And this horizontal line across the middle of the chart is that ratio value of 1. And above this line is positivity range. So you can begin to see kind of in the center of the chart here, excitement, admiration, compassion show greater positivity, even though they decline a little bit in the remaining 2 to 3 years. And in contrast, on the left-hand side of the chart is trust, and on the right-hand side of the chart is confidence. They trended up in later years and appear to become kind of the bedrock emotions that underlie consumer interest. While possibly these more ephemeral emotions like excitement and admiration and compassion have a more kind of settling down effect. So how to act on this, right? So overall positivity building you know, suggesting that there is much more favorable view of EVs. And so while, for instance, excitement and admiration sort of trended down, don't abandon those emotions in portraying those emotions, because they're really what got us this far, got the category this far. But do tap into trust and confidence, as this is really important to convey how the cars and vehicles are dependable and that the battery won't fail them. And additionally, we're going to take a look at key themes and measure those key themes by values and emotions. So first, we're going to look at values here. And just once again, across this horizontal axis, we've expanded the list of values to include the top 10. And we've also identified 4 of the key themes to analyze here. We're looking at battery, which is this top lighter colored line, charging station, climate change is in the red, and tax incentives is in the gray, kind of in the middle here. And so what you can see in this analysis is that battery is the most present key theme and is scoring really high here on empowerment and ingenuity, scoring really high on novelty and on thrill. And we're looking also then at climate change, also really peaks high here on empowerment and also scoring well in ingenuity. Charging station peaks at sharing, while battery dips there. So people are looking for more information. So even though battery is the most present key theme, according to the values that we measured, it varies wildly here. And interesting to note that both battery here and climate change peak together around empowerment, that this is a really important element in terms of the values that you can convey in this category. So while the ratings are very high on climate change and battery for empowerment and ingenuity, it's really, this really reinforces all of our earlier findings and provides confidence for continuing to rely on those insights. So just like we looked at values there, we're also now going to look at emotions. So looking at these same key themes across battery, charging station, climate change, and tax. Battery, again, is the most present according to the top 10 emotions, scoring really high on admiration, anticipation, looking forward to these new vehicles that will be introduced, excitement around all of the new technology, also really high on trust. And climate change appeared again here, really high with excitement, mirroring the analysis here for battery. So it's interesting, this emphasis and interest and positivity on battery and climate in both of these provides a really clear direction for the category and can aid in additional planning or activities that you want to explore. So taking one of those key themes, I'm just looking at battery. Winnebago just announced this all-electric, zero-emission prototype with a battery that powers not only the car, but all internal appliances and everything else that would need power for the vehicle. So this is really great news for all of those people that want to travel safe during the pandemic. So then we're going to take, one final look at how we can analyze all of this data, kind of zooming out for a 30,000-foot view on this analysis. So again, across the horizontal axis are all of the years that we studied, and the 3 measurements here for this big picture view are the average sentiment that we analyze. This is this light colored line on the upper area of the chart. Google search trends is the red line, and the black line are EV sales. They're all cast now as a moving average and shows that these 3 different measurements follow a very similar trend or very similar pattern. And when considered together then is more evidence of how these real world data reflect the direction of EVs, and you can act on it with confidence and with confirmation that the dynamics of the category are here to really inform your next steps. So while we showed you a real world example, we wanted to be able to demonstrate, how our analysis can change the way you work and how you think about your business, because it will allow you to be actionable, to make good use of the data that you're already collecting, to influence innovation or sales or messaging or new products. It can allow you to be more efficient and enhance surveys and studies that you do with more functionality, to quickly return your activity to those events that show more ROI for you. It can allow you to have more dynamic view of your data, to move from a very static study to something that is more compelling and dynamic in analysis, to chart the direction of markets and products and demand. And it is a flexible way to analyze as well, being used across all initiatives of social media, media monitoring, customer service, strategy, research, and more. So instead of fixed words and binary sentiment, our approach really adds much more depth to any text analytics you're going to do, and allows you to point your business in the right direction. Thank you.